Alrighty. Welcome, everybody. How's it going? My name's Dan McDermott. You are watching the Stick and Grow Show, episode 1 with Ben Revzin. Ben, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on, Dan.
You got it. Ben is my number one go-to buddy in the space when it comes to automations. From the first time we met here in San Diego a bunch of months ago, he was the guy that when I was raising issues or questions around how I was structuring workflows, thinking about systems around specifically content in my case, he was the guy that would go, oh, wait a minute, you didn't know you could do it like this, or that Google had a secret thing over here that you could use. You didn't know that? Well, here's how to do it. So, Ben, what I'd like to get into today is a little bit about how you think about automations. I know you have a little bit of a framework that you like to approach. Why don't we jump right into it? And you tell me about how you think about how to automate, what to automate, when to automate, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, great question. So this is the hardest part for a lot of people. I think it's where do you even begin, right? Because there's so much that you do in a day and in a month, and some things you take forever to do, but you actually enjoy doing them. So some things can be automated, but shouldn't, because you don't want to take the fun of like your magic away. And so I start everything off with the 3 strikes rule. And so the 3 strikes rule is if a process has more than 3 steps in it, you should probably automate the whole thing or as much as possible. So as an example, if it's creating content, you have to write a script, you have to record the content, and then you have to edit the content. And so, for example, writing a script, you can have a great automation and Claude skill for that. Recording, theoretically, you could do like an avatar of yourself. I still recommend doing real human videos. And then editing, you can use tools that have AI to actually do a lot of the editing for you. So that's one version of the 3 strikes framework. The other version is if you have a process that might be even simpler than that, but you're doing it 3 times or more per week. Like if you are sending the same emails, let's say, every single week, like you're sending reports on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you're doing check-ins with your team, you are publishing content on LinkedIn 3 times a week, that stuff can all be automated now. And so those are the 2 sort of the 2 forks to go down in the 3 strikes framework.
See, what I like about this is it's one of the practical ways to approach workflows. And one of the things that I've come across recently is basically time audits and looking at, a really honest look at what you do day to day. I'll be honest, I hated doing that kind of stuff. I still don't like doing it, but running through your work week, I recently built a little project management app for myself with Claude. And the first thing I did was just track my activities for a day and then for a week. And it was shocking how much I was repeating myself, how much I was looking for things over and over again that, really could have been in one place or, hit a button and let it go. Have you ever done anything like that? Or do you like using audits like that?
Yeah, I love using audits. The funniest or most ironic part of that is I do them on paper. And that's what I recommend to people, because if you have to switch tabs or you have to go to an app, sometimes you just forget to do it. What I recommend to everyone I work with is just put a Post-it note or a piece of printer paper on your desk and just write in the most basic terms what you're doing, because you don't need to add a lot of details because you're going to be the one reading over it later. And if you write too many details for yourself, you're not going to care and do that. You're just going to stop. So things like sent a calendar invite. Okay, that was the first thing. Went through my emails and wrote 10 responses. Okay, that was the second thing. Went on LinkedIn, tried to post, ended up getting stuck for 30 minutes scrolling. Right. And then at the end of the day, you look at it and you're like, wow, I went to Google Calendar 5 times today. I could probably automate sending my calendar invites, which you can do through Claude or other automation tools. So just doing that. And then at the end of the day, and you can just do it for one day, a week is definitely best. But like you do one day and you go, oh, there's something right here that hits way past the 3 strikes rule. I should start with that.
One of the guys I used to work for, he had a very good process around a yellow notepad that he would have where the day before he would just say, what are the 3 things I'm trying to get done tomorrow? That's it. And then his format was like the Cornell notes. I think that's the style where you split the page into a couple of margins and you have just the natural lines and you just say, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. I did this, or, and then boom, 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 you just try to get your 3 things knocked out. It's a version of that I think just self-tracking a little bit is a way to get to where you can then start more honestly scheduling future tasks and sort of seeing where because for me as a writer, it is, I'm a very slow writer compared to most other copywriters. I write very slowly, and some people can bang out multiple articles or web pages or whatever in a day. I like to take my sweet time with that. So when it comes to having some of these tools schedule for me, I see that it massively overestimates how much I can get done. So I think just stuff like that, it's a little bit better when you start to personalize and bring a little more of yourself into the process, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's my other big thing, and I'm glad you mentioned this, is semi-automating workflows.
Mm.
Because when you have scheduling, whether it's for yourself and it's like, hey, it's gonna schedule, it's gonna publish a post every Wednesday, and then you're behind, you got sick or you went on vacation or you just didn't have a post ready, then you're trapped by the machine, right? That's a full automation. And I see this in CRMs a lot also. So on the sales side, a lot of people see that CRMs can send automated email sequences to their leads. And then everyone tells me they have this awkward phase where the automated system is sending some sort of email drip like, hey, we're so excited to be working with you. We're getting your proposal ready, right? It sends that email, and it sends that email at 10 a.m. But guess what? That proposal was actually sent by someone on the sales team at 9:30 a.m. And now there's this awkward, like, why did you just email me saying you're going to do this? We're done. And I've had this happen where people are like, the deal is closed, right? We just forgot to move it from like sales pipeline into closed one in our CRM. And so it's still emailing the client like, we're working on this project. We're so excited to work with you. We're going to send you a DocuSign soon. And then it just ends up being really awkward. So I'm actually a bigger fan of semi-automated systems where there's a human in the loop rather than full, like, just let the machine take over.
This just happened with my parents actually at their place. Their landscapers came in ostensibly to install or plant some drought friendly grass, and then basically they came in. The automated system sent out the email saying when this would happen, blah blah blah. But the team had come in half an hour beforehand, like you said, just at that sweet spot, and planted the wrong type of grass, and basically screwed up the entire garden.
Wow.
And even though the systems were not playing nice with each other. So I totally agree. I think maybe one day we'll be in this spot where, the AI systems really beautifully manage everything. Maybe. But for the time being, having a human there to sort of see where everything goes, super important. So yeah, I love that semi. I think semi-automated is where we all kind of should be right now for a lot of our stuff. With that said, can I put you on the spot for a second? I want to tell you a little bit about our process at Stick and Grow when it comes to some of the content, and maybe you could kind of poke some holes in what I'm doing, and maybe suggest a place or two for some smarter thinking. Because that's every time I talk to you, I always come away with, man, why didn't I know about this one thing? Damn it. So one of the things that I do is right now, I create content briefs. Well, actually, I've created a content brief app, I guess is the best way to think about it. So client will come in, hit a button, and then they will get a bunch of news articles, a bunch of ideas from what's happening in their niche, recently, and some topical things based on what we know about the company. Then it'll suggest sort of like 6 to 10 topics on what ideas could we write about this week. You can then choose whichever briefs you want to generate. You choose 1, choose 5, whatever, and then hit go. And then it sends us, the writing team, the content briefs. Yep. We then go through Claude and then a human editor to go through and create the finished articles, the finished LinkedIn posts, email newsletters. And then we send back to the client. This all happens in Notion and Claude back and forth for approval, essentially. And then once they're approved, they get sent to Publer to get scheduled, or we manually right now schedule in WordPress, which is kind of one big bottleneck for us. The publishing side has been a big bottleneck. So just hearing that, is there any areas that you think we're doing maybe not thinking through enough or doing too much of?
Yeah, the first thing that comes into mind is WordPress, because WordPress is, I'm going to use the word legacy here. I know some people might not like that, but I think WordPress it's a fantastic tool. It's not the friendliest with automation, but I see that a lot, especially with the clients I work with who have tools that don't even have APIs. You can use Claude to do schedule tasks, right? And you can also have it control Chrome. And so you could have it open a new Chrome window and log in with the Chrome profile that you need to then publish for you. So it could take that content, create the post title, create the post content, and then schedule the post as well. So that's probably the first thing that I would do is start using Claude and Chrome. It's very, very slow when you watch it work, But when you just set it to work and you keep working on whatever you want, or you head out to lunch, it's amazing. And that's the first thing I do. The second piece, and I'm curious about this, is between the brief and where the client is selecting like the 1 to 5 content ideas, are they also adding some of their own commentary in there? Or are you guys doing an interview, or what's happening with that?
They can add their own, yes and yes, basically. So
Okay.
the interview is optional. They can if they want to, and they can also bring to the table whatever's fresh on their mind that isn't covered in the research brief.
Got it. And how is that captured and then used? So if they add their comments, are you then manually copy pasting those comments into Claude and saying, help me write this with this in mind, or what's the process there?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking, because this allows me to go a little deeper on this. So the content brief itself, when it gets generated, has placeholders for the client, usually founders in this case, to bring
Perfect.
personal stories and POV, and they add into the brief before hitting done. And that
Mhm.
part is essential, because without that, frankly, it's going to be an AI,
Right.
thought that's relatively generic and easy to replicate. But there's
Yeah.
still make it almost immediately kind of safe and strong. And also, before choosing the topics, they have an optional space to say like, hey, I just want to write about this topic, or here's some ideas.
Mhm.
It's notes. So you can bypass the research step if you want to and just write about that topic instead.
Got it.
So those are the two places.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the system is really good. The only things I could think of are more on the human side, which is potentially adding voice memo recording or video recording, so that instead of getting their typed thoughts, they could just sort of like spew and dish it all out, and then have a question at the end where it's like, okay, now what did you forget to talk about? Because I've found, and I'm sure you see this all the time. It's like right at the end of the conversation, it's like, oh, I also forgot this thing that would actually be great content. And so that's probably the part to emphasize. As an example, when I have my follow-up emails written by Claude, I have it start at the bottom of the transcript for my meetings rather than from the top. And so I say emphasize the things that were spoken about in the last 25% of the meeting, because that's typically where we're paraphrasing exactly what we want the next steps to be, exactly what we want to get done, versus the first 75% of the meeting is actually just, how you doing, introductions, talking about the checklist, talking about the past. And so give emphasis to the end piece.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I do a lot of case study interviews, and I just had one this morning where you're totally right. The person who you're speaking to is sort of warming up over the course of the conversation, and by the end of it, they're kind of in flow state and just kind of saying stuff, and even at the point where you're good and you can end the call, but they're going, oh, but wait, hold it, this other thing came up, and so I think that's a really, I've never thought to flip the transcript upside down, because I live off of transcripts these days. I don't know about you, but it's everything. What do you use? Can I ask for just some like very nitpicky practical stuff?
Sure.
What are your favorite tools out there that you're using these days?
Yeah, my stack, and I'm just going to open my doc. So I'm running Claude all the time, and I just got an app called Parall that lets me run 2 different Claude accounts at the same time with 2 Claude desktop apps, because I was going past the limits on one account, even at the $200 month plan. So now I have 2 of those, and I can run different projects, one for my business and then one for client work. So Claude times 2. Then I'm using Whisperflow, which has been the rage, and I feel like now it's really all the rage. I've gotten a few of my clients on it, and so Whisperflow is the best tool for just being able to talk, and then it types into the computer and it fixes your errors. So Claude, Whisperflow. My automations, when it's black and white, it's like when this thing happens, do X, Y, and Z. I'm using N8N, which is an automation tool. If people have heard of Zapier, N8N is like the Android version of Zapier. It's a little more technical, it's a little uglier, but it can do way more than Zapier can. And then I'm using Slack and iMessage for my communication. And then in terms of transcript, because we were just talking about that, I do everything in Gemini. Like Gemini transcripts is turned on. I have Fathom that I use sometimes if I'm on a Zoom call or a Teams meeting, but I manage most of my meetings. And so I just use Gemini, and it integrates so well with my Claude skills. So like when I end a meeting, I just say send a recap to Dan. It'll go through the entire transcript. It'll give more weight to the last 25%. It'll write a follow-up email. It'll put the draft in my Gmail, and it's all just in one place. So I'm a little bit lazy in that sense, that I didn't want to try Fireflies and Otter and Granola and all these other things. So I'm just like, Gemini will do it. I don't need the fanciest thing. I just need it to work.
And this is why I love picking your brain about this kind of stuff, because it's always a little surprising to me. And also, if anybody ever wants to work with Ben, by the way, for anybody who's going to watch us in the future, when it comes to Zapier was always the thing that I was always like, I don't want to look at, because it always feels a little bit clunky and everything. And then I got into Make.com and eventually into N8N as well. But your workflows are next level. So it's definitely, that's the area that I would when I think of you, that's what I connect your face to. Is those tools. Look, I'm curious about this. This is a bit of a curveball question, but
Sure.
I am wondering if there's anything maybe outside of work, maybe for something creative. I know you have a very creative side project that you launched recently, which is really cool. But is there anything kind of wacky, goofy, a little bit that's surprising that you're using AI for right now that maybe I don't know about?
Oh, that's a great curve question. What am I using AI for? First, I got to think of what hobbies I have, because I feel like I've just been going down the Claude rabbit hole, just working even more than I did before.
It's wild, isn't it? It's crazy time.
This is a great question.
So while you're thinking, I'm going to recap just briefly, because I personally am working on some fiction projects where I'm really working on the writing. So the prompting is really important here. And I've been in all sorts of fiction and nonfiction writing tools. Nothing's really fantastic yet, but it's been very cool to take ideas and to structure. Basically, I think AI is great for analysis and for structure and for blending maybe two different frameworks together. For example, there's a story grid framework in the fiction world that you can bring in. And John Truby is a screenwriter. He has the 22 laws of story. You can kind of mash them together and then create, or say, like, the latest thing is I like fantasy books. And I think both Middle Eastern fantasy and Irish mythology is not really explored deeply. Norse mythology is done to death, but the rest really isn't. So having these wild chats where I pop in my AirPods and I use ChatGPT for this because I like their voice best more than anything. Mm-hmm. Just take a long walk, kind of blabbering about this stuff. If anybody ever hears me, it sounds like I'm completely crazy. But it's been a great learning tool because I just don't know much about the stuff either. And then it's a very good creative outlet to just start jamming on these ideas. So that's my answer. Have you come up with one in the space?
Yes. So I'm in my office right now, and I was just looking around. I don't know if this will be seen with the background. Yeah. Okay. So we have this, and then I have another one. Give me 1 second. So I have two nephews. They're 8 years old and 5 years old, and they love cars and they love coloring. And so they wanted coloring pages of the cars that they've seen me drive. And so what I did is I just took the photo on my phone and I told ChatGPT, create a coloring page with this car, with this exact photo. So these are the exact photos. I just had ChatGPT take it off of, I don't know, I think I was parked on, the side of the street or something. Not the color of the actual car I was driving, by the way, but right. It's amazing to use it. I haven't really exposed my nephews. I think they're a little too young to they know the idea of AI, but when they want something and it doesn't exist, like if you Google, I don't know, Ford Raptor coloring page, it doesn't show a good option. And so with that, I could just make it happen. And I found that to be a really good use case. And it was quick. We then printed it, and then we got back to the physical world, which is what I like. I like spending my time with them, not staring at the screen with them. But I think that's one of the easiest and best use cases. And that was just on the ChatGPT free plan.
That's really cool. That's a great example. And on cough, cough, nudge, nudge. Sounds like there's a car coloring book in the works here, man. That's the next to random side project. I won't even get into your side project. Was so cool. The Shopify store. Maybe we'll save that for another time. But it's I'll include the link to it because it's so wild. I want people to watch this to just go check out the store because it is next level.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Ben, thanks so much for the time. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with people about automations or anything philosophically that you will stand on where you think things are going to be in the next 6 to 12 months?
Oh. Okay, I have one practical tip, and then I have one one concept that I really want to hear comments about. Okay, so my practical tip is that when you are building Claude skills or using any AI tool, you have to treat it like a human. And that means you have to assume that it's much less intelligent, it's probably a bad wording for it, than it is. And what I mean by that is if you are giving it a document, right? You're giving it like a PDF of your writing samples or something, or a Word document. You should be very specific with what you want it to do. And you should also correct it if it's not exactly what you want. And you should actually be more verbose. So the more you tell it, the better it's going to be. And then you want to save that as like a Claude skill, ChatGPT, custom GPT, a Google Gemini Gem. And so you have to treat it as if it was a new junior associate or intern inside of your business. You can't assume anything that they're going to know anything. You have to be very direct at the start as it learns the context of that. So that's the first piece, is just treat it like a human and have the assumption that it can do it. You just need to tell it what you want. So that's the first thing. Then going on the like where I see the future of technology sort of question, I think that the computer mouse and the trackpad is on its way out. I posted about this like a month ago on my LinkedIn. Right now, when we go into a CRM or we go on a website or we go into any tool, we're clicking around a ton. But I don't click that much anymore because I go into Claude and I say, hey, I had a meeting with Dan, go through the transcript, write and send a follow-up email, add him to my CRM, add another meeting on the calendar. I'm not clicking at all. I'm just typing. And now I'm not even typing because I'm using Whisperflow. So I just talk to my computer and it's like in Star Trek, just controlling the main computer. So I think we're going to see that happening. It's going to be much more normal for people to be talking to their phones and their computers and their cars, even more than they are now. Like now, people are using Siri voice to text. I think that's going to become the norm. And then it's going to be the weird old school way to go and click. And it's like, oh, you clicked add new contact CRM and then you typed their email address. It's on its way out.
Maybe next time we come on, we'll have you in the full Minority Report, gloves and glasses and stuff. And
exactly.
That's really funny. And I lied. I have one more follow-up question. The structure of your skills and maybe in general how you're organizing, specifically in Claude Code. I'm curious about this. Do you have a way that you're currently using that you like to organize your learning / your structure for the projects that you give out to Claude Code?
It's a great question. I would say no. In terms of the skills, I don't have an organizational system because I found that the context awareness is really good. And I have a lot of similar skills. For example, I have a skill to invoice client A, and then I have a similar skill to invoice client B because one of them wants an invoice with an email and through a particular invoicing software. The other one just wants me to send them an email with what they owe me, and they actually still write me a check. And so those are similar, but it even knows based on the context of what I'm chatting about, or if I upload my hours, because I track hours for some of these clients, it knows which skill to call. And so I found that from the top level, and I have, I don't know, maybe like 40 or 50 skills now, it's been getting them correct. So I don't have a grouping strategy for them yet. I have made some plugins that I've shared with people, which is a collection of skills that you can send as one file. But I haven't had to solve that problem. And I'm hoping I won't need to. I think even with 50 to 100 or maybe 200 skills, I think it's just going to work. I hope continue to work well. We'll see what happens.
That's awesome. I love the perspective. Well, Ben, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find out more about you?
Of course. Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel called Ben Can Help. So you can go on YouTube and search Ben Can Help. If you type in Ben Can Help Claude, you'll probably find me. And if you want to schedule like 15 minutes with me, you can go to 15.bencanhelp.com. So 15.bencanhelp.com. It's literally just my calendar. Feel free to book some time there. Happy to talk Claude AI automation with you when you want. So thank you for having me on, Dan. I really appreciate this conversation.
For sure. And we'll definitely do it again. All right, everybody. We will speak to you soon. Take care. See ya.
Thanks, everyone.